So earlier in the week, there was a balance patch, kind of a medium-sized one. I sat down with Boots, recorded, discussed it. Now, at the end of the video, I wasn't too happy with it and was kind of thinking not posting at all. But after a few days of dawdling, I figure, hey, I'll just edit in any further thoughts I have and we can go for it. So this is the video. Sorry about the wait. And I'll probably do a companion piece for the other elements of the patch. So check that out today somewhere else on the channel. All right. We're not going to... Are we meeting in game for this or no?
No.
The way you said that made it sound like you really didn't want to log in. Like, really.
Well, because I think on this, I have it on my... It's updated on my laptop, but on this computer, my game client isn't updated.
All right, that's fair. I completely refreshed my client the other day because I'm trying the DirectX 12 thing and seeing how many more frames I get and stuff like that. So yeah, I've got multiple installs to juggle, make sure they're updated now. But hello everyone, welcome. There was kind of a minor balance patch. I don't really think it's fair to call this a minor balance patch, but a kind of a much smaller balance patch that we weren't expecting.
Balance tweaks.
Yeah. So I kind of needed to do a video talking about the patch in general. We haven't seen Boots on the channel for a while, so I figured let's do a balance with Boots. We can run through the changes. We were just saying before we started recording, it looks like a lot of it is world versus world minded, but not exclusively so, right? You think so, Boots?
Yeah, that's accurate, I'd say.
So, unlike with the other ones where, you know, Boots will read some and I'll read some, we'll present them to each other, I think we've both glossed over all the changes already, and we'll just go through them, and we'll see what we think.
Yeah, because it's not like there's big fundamental changes to skills and stuff. It's just a lot of little tweaks to numbers.
No, exactly. I'm actually surprised to have seen any balance at all. It's weird because I just got into talking a little bit about balance in some recent videos now that I'm PvPing for this legendary trinket, and how I really didn't expect to see much balance because, you know, they're working on new elite specs and they probably won't want to rock the boat too much. And then almost as soon as those words come out of my mouth on the channel, boom, there's another patch with some more balance. So hey, I'm glad to be wrong on this because the more balance the better, right? Even if it's kind of minor.
Well, you know what? When they're coming out with a new expansion and new elite specs, you know what they got to do to balance in the game currently?
What do they got to do?
Nerf everything to the ground so the new elite specs are better.
I don't know whether they've never nerfed. They did do. I can't even really remember anymore, but they did do some tweaks to make space for the Path of Fire stuff, right? Like
They didn't have to nerf anything before Heart of Thorns because core is just worse than the elite specs in general.
Oh, and it was all built with that in mind as well, right? Like specializations themselves only had just come in.
Yeah, but for Path of Fire, I think they definitely nerfed a few things before Path of Fire came out.
I remember on Necro, wasn't there a plague form revamp right before Scourge came in, and they were kind of similar in some ways, or it felt like the old version there would have been way too much synergy, and it was only when Scourge came in that it all made sense. Anyway, I don't know whether we're at that phase for Ends of Dragons right now. Maybe Boots, if you've seen something, we'll talk about it.
I don't think this doesn't qualify for that. I don't think.
All right, well, let's just run on in. So first of all, the Rune of the Golem. So this is a super minor change before we get into the profession section. Adjusted the health of the summoned golem to be more in line with other rune summons. So I didn't have any thoughts on this. I was looking online to see anybody talking about this. I guess it was too tanky. Was it too tanky?
I don't know. I don't think I've ever used Rune of the Golemancers, so I wouldn't be able to tell you.
Oh, you're missing out. Was it the Rune or the Asura Summon skill? On one patch years ago, when running dungeons was still a really big thing, there was a patch that completely buffed the hell out of these, and you could use them. I think it was from Rune.
I stick with my pirate runes, where I get the bird, the parrot.
Yeah, and you get might. You can shout Yar, and you know, boost you a little bit.
Yeah.
I recommend those for my open world builds. I really like those. So yeah, I don't know about this, guys. Rune of the Golemancers is good though. It's like a budget scholar, by the way. If you guys have been playing the Crucible of Eternity and you have excess tokens, it's a pretty good damagey rune, and hey, the golem is adjusted. I don't even know whether the health's gone up or down, honestly.
Yeah, that would be good to know if it gone up or down.
Yeah. All right, let's jump on in with the Ellie, I guess. Stuff first of all. Do you want to read them out, Boots, while I swap onto my Ellie in game?
Sure, absolutely. So, Elementalist. First, Convergence updated the tooltip description of the skill for greater accuracy and to include the delay duration before the skill lands. Okay, good enough. Then we got Tempestuous Aria. This trait no longer increases the maximum number of targets of shout skills. And then finally, shout skills increase the maximum targets of from 5 to 10 in PvE only. So those two last points together, they just mean that essentially you don't need Tempestuous Aria to have 10 targets for shout skills anymore in PvE, but now you don't have the option to have that in World versus World.
Yeah, so it's kind of a sneaky way of saying, hey, this is a World versus World target cap nerf.
Yeah, but it kind of buffs, it's a baseline buff to PvE, I guess.
Yeah, and I was happy to see this with PvE. I've been playing kind of a boon spammy open world Zerg Tempest build lately. And just for the new meta, the North meta. And now it's like, well, I don't even have to be locked into one of those specific traits if I want my 10-man shouts. They'll just always be there. And this also gives them that granularity. Later, they could nerf it for PvP. Well, it doesn't matter.
Well, you don't. It's already out of... It's not in PvP anymore. And you didn't need it in PvP anyway because...
Yeah. Well, unless... And I know this sounds silly, but, you know, sometimes maybe you want to splash some extra target, you know, cap over onto minions and random crap.
Oh, like yeah, like a flesh golem or something. Good point.
Yeah, if you want to, you know, spam prot out on all of that so they're harder to cleave down or something. I don't know. It's not relevant right now, but maybe on one meta at some point, guys, you could see something like that. Now, hold on.
So this is kind of a theme, I think, for the rest of this patch. I think it looks like there's quite a few instances where they reduce the number of targets from 10 to 5 in World versus World. We keep it for PvE.
Yes, yeah. And it's funny as well because when the 10-man shouts came in, I really felt like that was more of a World versus... Well, I guess raiding too. That's the thing, because they've got these two very weird game types that are both 10-man raiding and World versus World. So,
and open world.
Yeah, and open world too, but, you know, buildcraft is less relevant and less exciting.
Yeah.
Do you want to go to engineer now, maybe? Or
I would love to.
All right, something else to say maybe about Ellie?
No, I think that's about it.
All right, well, what you got? There's a lot more changes here, guys.
Okay, engineer. Bomb kit skill 1, just the normal little bomb guy. Reduce the power coefficient from 0.85 to 0.7 in World versus World only.
Okay, let's pause there. What? This was being used in World versus World? Bomb autos?
I don't know. I mean, I guess it's a nice... It's like, you know, it's kind of like a Guardian skill... the old Guardian staff, because you got a nice AoE.
Come on, no. I do not understand this. I really don't. It's not like it's, you know, sometimes there's a weird patch note and people criticize it. And then I have to say, well, hold on, that's part of like a system change, you know. Because all the bomb skills have changed. Or last patch, explosives changed in this way or that way. And so on and so on and so on. But there's none of that going on here. It is just in isolation... bomb autos in World versus World.
It's because didn't you know that there's a bomb kit meta in World versus World right now?
I don't even know. Yeah,
but only for skill 1.
It's just really weird to me. I don't know.
I mean, I'm laughing, but it might be true. I have not been enough in World versus World recently.
I love bomb autos. One of the only times I've ever really grinded the Golem for PvE endgame DPS benchmarking and stuff is on an NG build years ago, and it turned out that the best way to DPS on this build was to just spam bomb autos. Like, if you dared to swap off to do anything else, it would cost you more damage. Was that back when like
15k DPS was like the be all end all?
Maybe it was pretty early there. I don't know whether it was that early. Was there ever a time 15k was good?
Yeah. Well, back like when raiding first started, everybody was like, "Oh man, Revenant. Yeah, Revenant auto attacks with sword. You get you like 15k and give everybody boons. That's like the best you could possibly have. Everybody should run Revenant."
That's funny. Well, anyway, there you go, guys. A bomb change. What they do have more, specifically grenades, right? The big change.
Yeah, okay, then we got a bunch of grenade changes for PvP only. Reductions in coefficients for the freeze, poison, and grenade barrage, and lesser grenade barrage. Basically, everything gets nerfed on, except for the auto attack grenades.
Yeah, so I can actually talk a lot about this. For all the balance with boots this year, which frankly is only like four parts we've done. I've not been PvPing, so I haven't known. However, as of just a couple of weeks ago, I started again working on this trinket, so I am aware of the fact that now in PvP...
Hollow grenades.
Yeah, grenade hollow is kind of a big thing. And they hit really hard. Like, really
For no
hard.
reason, yeah. It's just like, they get up there 25 stacks of might, and then they just toss out some grenades, and the guys die.
Well,
Everybody dies.
It's interesting. Way back in the day, one of my favorite builds to play was like a Condi spam, a Condi grenade build. So it was interesting to see kind of more of a power take on it, you know, attached to a hollow situation. And I remember back then they made poison grenade unblockable, kind of a similar situation to the choking gas thing. The idea being that it was really good for cleaving and so on when someone goes down.
So the idea here is what they've nerfed quite heavily, actually, is all the non-pure power-based grenades.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. That if you want to still do a lot of power damage, then those specific grenades are still good for you. But like the poison grenade being unblockable was really annoying for me because I'd be like channeling a block or something, and the hollow would just nail me with these really deadly poison grenades that then stack 9 friggin' poison on you afterwards, reduce your.
And that's it. Actually, the poison stacks per grenade have been reduced as well from 3 to 1.
Yeah. So instead of being hit with 9 stacks, you get 1. Sorry, 3. I have noticed now Condi hits way less. It's a lot weaker, and you know they tend to fall off a lot quicker and stuff. So I don't really know whether that bit of the change is that big. But yeah, it's I like the change. I do, because I kind of came back to the game wanting to play a bit more hollow in PvP, but I don't like the idea of flicking in and out of grenades while playing it. I don't know, something about the playstyle just kind of irritates me. So the idea that they're shaving it down a bit, I'm happy with, basically.
I would say I'm also a bit of a fan of this because grenade hollows were the only thing that were giving my build trouble in like those 2v2 matches.
Oh, really? Really? See, I hadn't done any of that. I haven't really experienced it. Is it strong in a 2v2 environment, was it?
Well, yeah, it's just a strong build in general.
Yeah. Well, and by the way, I have noticed since this patch came out, I know it's a super new patch, you can really feel it in game too. You can feel that these things. I mean, to look at just the notes, you'd think, is that how severe is that nerf? It's enough to really feel the difference. So that's pretty cool. So one of the other big topics that Boots and I kind of missed here is it wasn't just hollows running grenade. There were actually some interesting scrap or even core builds using grenades. This is a situation that happens again and again and again in Guild Wars 2, where an elite specialization is using a core class element to great effect, and then when they nerf the core class element, it hits, you know, the outlier build, but also all the other ones. You know, are we really in a position where we wanted core NG to feel weaker and we wanted the grenade throwing scrappers to feel weaker? I don't really think so, but that has been a consequence here, so bear that in mind.
And then finally, explosive entrance reduced power coefficient from 1.25 to 0.9 in PvP only.
And again, that explosive entrance is everywhere. The scrapper builds, everyone's running explosives for explosive entrance now. It was just yesterday I did a video in which I said, you know, they decoupled all this big damage from big CCs, and then they added explosive entrance, which is like this daze on damage, you know, that's also paired with whatever attack triggered at the same time. It's kind of like you've taken one step forward and then one step back, and now they've nerfed that down a little bit as well. So
I'm kind of happy that this is all just for PvP only, so you could still maybe do the one-shot build in World vs. World.
Yeah. So yeah, overall, I like the energy changes, just a little bit of refinement. That's it. What more is there to say?
That's it. Okay, so let's move on to Guardian.
Yeah. So Guard, what do you got for me, Boots?
So now we have Guardian. It looks like all the changes are for World vs. World only.
Okay.
And we'll start here. It's with Holy Strike.
All right.
That's staff skill 2. Reduce the power coefficient from 1.25 to 0.91.
Wait, so they've just hit the power. This is only in World vs. World?
Yeah.
Okay, so I like the new staff too. Well, do we call it new at this point? I don't really know.
new this year, I think.
I guess that was a big thing in World vs. World. Zerg's just sort of spamming Holy Strike down and getting a lot of cleave out of it because it's 5 targets and 1200 range and.
Or maybe it isn't even new this year. No, it's new since 2018. Okay, all right.
Yeah, I don't think I'd call it new anymore. No.
Yeah. And then we got Symbol of Swiftness, reduce the power coefficient per strike to 0.3 from 0.4.
Oh yeah, they're just trying to shave down the staff pressure.
Staff. Yeah, and then Symbol of Punishment, reduce the symbol power coefficient per strike by about 25% again. And then Sword of Justice, also reduced. This one's by 33%, I want to say.
So on the topic of the sword, there's another thing I really wanted to talk about in the original video, so we'll do it here. You're going to notice there's a lot of good nerfs here, I think, to outlier builds for PvP especially. But they ignored, there were no nerfs to a very potent Condi Dragon Hunter build. Now, when I was last playing PvP, about a year ago exactly, I had cottoned on to how ridiculously strong this Sword of Justice Eternal Armory combo is, especially triggering the passive of your F1 over and over and over again. When they did all the Condi changes, it looks like a kind of a Dragon Hunter variant that locks people into rings, maybe with hammer, maybe with a longbow, maybe with dragons more, whatever one you want to go for, has become really popular because then you drop the sword on people and bomb out insane burn damage. Honestly, Condi DH is everywhere, and really, I'm kind of sad that it escaped the nerf bat from this release. So there is a nerf to the Sword of Justice here, and that by all means is not the only problem with the build, by the way. But they've nerfed it for power in World vs. World. I would expect a Condi DH nerf for PvP to come a little bit later, and it will probably affect this sword again, so keep an eye out for it.
And then Zealous Scepter reduced might duration from 6 to 4 seconds in World vs. World.
Oh, so Zealous Scepter is the trait that means whenever you crit, I think it is, you get might. Yeah, here you go. Gain might whenever... Oh, no, sorry, it's not whenever you crit. It's whenever your Virtue Skill 1 passive triggers, you get might. And if you are holding a Scepter, it's double might. This is actually really strong and has been for a long time. Especially in World vs. World, I imagine, where you can run like Permeating Wrath and stuff and just drop it down to 3 and go crazy.
And then finally, Test of Faith reduced the pass-through strike power coefficient from 2.8 to 2.52, which is not that huge of a nerf.
That's still crazy though, Boots. A 2.8 coefficient that was on. That's crazy how much extra damage and value that gets out of power.
When you see swords, don't walk through the swords. Simple as that.
That is nuts. Really nuts. I love that skill though. That's a cool skill.
Yeah, it's good. And that's all for Guardian. All World vs. World nerfs. Guardians are very, very prevalent in World vs. World, so I think that has something to do with that.
Okay, cool. Bit of a tune down. Necro's the next category. It's a tiny one. Sorry to the Necro fans out there, but we'll see what we got. One of them is actually very relevant to a build I've been playing recently.
So we've got Well of Darkness, reduced power coefficient per strike from 0.8 to 0.45 in World... Oh, these are both World vs. World changes again.
Yeah. So I'm running Well of Darkness in PvP lately. This is a skill I always wanted to enjoy, but I'm sort of getting to grips with it here. I guess in World vs. World it was too strong, and that's quite a big nerf to its coefficient, right? It's like halved, basically.
It is, but at the same time... Well of Darkness was never supposed to be like really a huge damaging well.
No, I know. See, I feel like I'm being a bit stupid here and I'm forgetting something because I never remembered it really hitting hard at all. But in game now, it's pretty big damage in PvP. It's pretty good, and obviously the utility from blind and chill together. Like I seem to remember having to trait this for the chill and everything, but you know
it was the second hardest hitting well. Yeah.
We've covered every single balance change, right? We really have over the past several years now. It's kind of crazy. I can't remember ever talking about Well of Darkness buffs, but I feel like it's a lot stronger, at least in comparison to a lot of the other stuff in the game at the moment. So yeah, anyway, I've been playing with it to reasonable effect, and I guess...
So that's Well of Darkness. And then Well of Corruption also got a small power coefficient nerf, less so than Well of Darkness, but it's still now lower than Well of Darkness in World vs. World.
Yeah, and I think that's fine. I always thought it was a bit weird that Well of Corruption did as much damage as it did. You know? Yeah. Like, my favourite Well is Well of Suffering.
Right, the one that does damage.
But Well of Suffering feels super lame when the other ones are doing damage and also have, like, these immense quality of life too. You know, like, it's not a big enough difference in damage between them. So, yeah, I like it. That's it. Sorry to the Necros. Those are, well, or maybe it's a good thing because, you know, most of this, guys, has been like refinements and bringing things down. So maybe it's a good thing to not see many changes to your profession in this patch, because if there were changes, it might have been more nerfs, which is probably a good thing.
Yeah. So in World vs. World, Well of Darkness was saying it was doing around 2.4 in the calculation on the wiki, which is different from their own calculation.
Right.
And then Well of Suffering was doing 5 points. So Well of Suffering was doing in World vs. World about twice as much damage as Well of Darkness before the change, or maybe this is after the change, because it has been out for a couple of days now. This for at least one day.
What? It was yesterday, wasn't it? It was late yesterday.
Yesterday, yeah. Yeah. So I don't know if this has already been updated or not. Let me check the patch notes. Yeah, they already updated this. Okay, so now it's doing about half as much damage as Well of Suffering.
Yep.
In World vs. World. Okay. So I guess before this change, it was doing not that much less damage than Well of Suffering.
Not really, no. That's the thing.
Wow.
And it just felt really underwhelming. Right, let's go with Rev next, right? I think Rev is the next one.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna give you guys some amazing footage of my jolly dwarven Santa guy that I seem to only log in on around every Winter's Day. But here he is. All right, go for it. What we got?
We got first Draconic Echo. This trait no longer increases the maximum number of targets of passive facet skills.
And the next note as well, because
it's tied in. Facet passive skills. Increase the maximum number of targets from 5 to 10 in PvE only, just like the Elementalist got.
Yeah, exact same thing. So now you don't need a trait in PvE, and essentially
it doesn't exist in World vs. World anymore.
Yeah. So, and I mean, all the same comments to the Ellie thing. I don't really think there's anything else to get out on that one.
And then Inspiring Reinforcement, reduced power coefficient from 1.5 to 1, so a decent knockoff there in World vs. World only. Reduced stability duration from 3 seconds to 1 second in PvP only. And increase cooldown from 10 to 15 seconds in PvP only.
I'm so happy with this change, Boots. This is so good. I literally, again, as soon as I said it yesterday, I basically, well, actually over 2 videos this week, I said, oh man, you know, I'm really bored of the current PvP meta. I talked about the pace and just how like slow and irritating things are and how unfun a particular Revenant Renegade build is at the moment, like a node-holdy Renegade build, that uses this Inspiring Reinforcement on Jarlis. You're getting taunted in, and they're just sitting there with what feels like permanent stab, and it's so unfun. You know, you see them, and usually it's like, well, at least I removed the stab, maybe someone else can do something now. But no, not when it comes to Inspiring Reinforcement, which is just going to refresh over and over and over and over again. So I'm really happy to see this nerf. I'm really, really happy, honestly.
Okay, good. As long as you're happy, everything's okay.
The cooldown side of it's sort of... It's almost like not a nerf in a way. If you were only ever using the road once while you were in Dwarf stance.
How many pulses is the road?
I don't know what it looks like in PvP, but after the nerf it's 5 though here for me right now in the footage. But the point I'm trying to make is that you know, in your flow you're legend swapping regularly. So if you notice the new cooldown, it's still low enough that you'll just immediately have access to it basically when after a full cycle in and cycle out of the legend. Does that make sense?
Right.
It just means you might not use it twice before the swap, and that's always a weird thing with Revenant utility cooldown changes, because the actual flow of the game makes what looks like nerfs sometimes not actually be nerfs. Anyway, I'm really, really happy with this. As for the World vs. World side with the damage, I guess it's just sort of the same as the Firebrand thing, right? Sorry, not Firebrand, Guardian.
Yeah. Okay, so then Incense Response, reduced might from 5 stacks for 8 seconds to 2 stacks for 4 seconds in World vs. World only. That is an invocation trait. Master Major, gain might when you grant yourself Fury.
Oh, wait, okay, this is actually a huge trait. Wait, what does it say then again?
So instead of 5 stacks for 8 seconds, it's only 2 stacks for 4 seconds.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's a pretty appropriate nerf. This is a really strong trait. Especially in PvE and World vs. World, where you have so many different gear and rune and food and thing options to
you get Fury really easily as a Renegade.
Yeah.
Or Revenant, I mean.
That makes sense to me that they'd nerf that. I think that's fine.
Okay. And then Coalescence of Ruin. Ooh, that one.
We're looking at Hammer 2 here, right?
Yeah. Reduced power coefficient from 1.5 to 1.15 in World vs. World only. And reduced cooldown from 10 to 8 seconds also in World vs. World.
Okay, so you can cast it more regularly.
Yeah, it just does less massive damage.
That's a really interesting change. I actually think that of everything we've discussed so far in this video, and possibly right until the end of the runtime, this is the most profound thing for its format. So let's think about this. The new cooldown at 8 seconds in World versus World. What that really means is you will get 2 casts on the hammer swap before you leave again, right? Like you're sitting about on your weapon swap cooldown, and it will be there. Instead of you having to linger kind of a little bit awkwardly for those few more seconds and then do it, like to double up. You could argue that it's a little bit lower skill now because everyone's going to know that they can press it twice before weapon swapping instead of those of us who are a little bit more patient or whatever. But
I mean,
and
sure.
What about the damage? A coefficient change?
It's from 1.5 to 1.15, so
that's like a third of the scaling you were getting.
A little
before.
bit less than a third.
I don't know. I don't know how that will end up feeling. See, I think I know World vs. Worlders are a bit sick of Hammer because you see it everywhere, and I know that build diversity needs a bit of a shake up, but Hammer is really, if you kill it in World vs. World, it's dead in the entire game. No one's running Hammer anywhere else. So I think it's really important to keep that at least somewhere in Guild Wars 2, and maybe the weapon in general needs more work. But so yeah, I don't want to see them. I'm trying to say it's a risky change, basically. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying. We'll just see how it goes. I think it just seems like they're trying to reduce the power of everything in World vs. World just to make things a little more...
To make room for the new Elite specs.
Yeah, to make room for the new... No, I think they think that people are too strong in World vs. World right now as a Zerg.
Well, hopefully they don't make it too stalling and too boring, to be honest, but there you go.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, next, Phase Smash, also Hammer, I think. Reduce power coefficient from 1.36 to 1.2 in World vs. World. That's not that much of a nerf, but it's still there.
And then we get into a bunch of Kala spirit changes, specifically for PvP. So I'm going to interrupt Boots reading the notes out here and do a quick edit, because we were so waffly about this section of the original video. So check it out. You've got All for One, which is the trait that means when you summon spirits, you give everyone around you protection. That protection has gone from 3 to 2 seconds, so they've shaved it down. The healing spirits, base heal, has been shaved down by a good amount, by about 1,000. And the life steal that you get from the elite, now note that the elite damage, where you can get spiked with crazy lifesteal, that's still there, but the resustain you get from it is down as well. And this is kind of exactly what I was talking about just in my video earlier in the week, where I said, look, I don't mind the game getting a bit slower, but if there's too much resustain and it doesn't feel like there's any momentum, any development, like the fight's eventually going to end, that's what sucks. And that's what was boring about this Renegade build, that there was a lot of resustain. So that's exactly what they've nerfed. Even this final change here with Steadfast Rejuvenation is another sustain nerf. You can still spike people with Soul Cleaver's Summit using, the new short bow changes where 7-shot will hit with every packet while you're under the elite. I still routinely get hit for 10k plus from Soul Cleaver's Summit if I'm not watching very carefully. But that's the changes that they've gone with, and again, I'm really, really happy with all of these. I will note that since this patch came in, people are still running Renegade in PvP, and they are still running Shortbow in PvP. It's just a lot of people have subbed Kala out for Shiro. I don't know where the dust will fully settle, but Shiro's always fun with Shortbow anyway. You can port in and then quickness, skill 3, and all kinds of fun stuff. But yeah, so I'm happy to see the spirits nerfed for a million reasons. Just the visual noise alone is aggravating, right? But there's still a lot of people running them, and as a Necro player, that was pretty good for me because I got to abuse them all for infinite lifesteal. Fun stuff.
We have 2 classes left. We got to go through them fast because I've got to do something in like 10 minutes.
It's because we spent too long chatting before we recorded. We were talking about the game director posting and the 50-man team and stuff, guys.
I know, this is all your fault.
Yeah, alright.
Also, you tried to play like 3 PvP games.
I played one, which had already popped when we got on the call. Sure. Then there was a second that I declined. Okay,
so then we have Thief.
Yeah.
And for Thief, we got Infiltrator's
Arrow. Oh yeah, no, this is the big change in the patch. This is
huge.
Yeah.
Increased initiative cost for Infiltrator's Arrow from 6 to 8 in PvP in World vs. World. That's like all of your initiative.
Yeah, well, it is a lot.
It's more than half. It's more than half if you have the trait to give you more initiative, and it's 80% of your initiative if you don't have the trait.
I was talking to a guildie about this, and he was saying, Shortbow just looks so weird compared to other Thief weapons, almost like it's bugged at this point now, because like choking gas is at 7, And then Infiltrator's arrow is at 8. It's just, none of the other weapon sets even come close to these kinds of, like, crazy costs here.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not qualified really to talk about this enough, but I would say, a lot of mobility on this class. It's not always on Infiltrator's arrow. I don't really know what the motivation is here. In general, as a guard,
but this is again. This is oh no, it's PvP and World vs. World. Holy shit!
Yeah, it's World vs. World as well. As the ghast as I know, thieves and singled out thieves are gonna feel from this, right? I would say I'm all for any mobility nerfs anytime I see them. Any.
Yeah.
Shortbow was obviously great for a lot of stuff, not just mobility. And I think it's kind of interesting to compare Infiltrator's arrow now to the rifle's Death's Retreat, right? Which is heavy mobility Shadow Step 2 on lower cost. So that's not the only change, though, right? They did go with some other stuff, too. And this one's big as well for Daredevil. Mobility.
Signet of Agility. Reduce endurance granted from 50 to 25 in PvP only.
Yeah, so like I was just saying, you're not always spamming Infiltrator's arrow to move around. Maybe you're playing Daredevil and you're running dash. So you dodge, Signet, dodge. Oh, wait, we're going to nerf the Signet as well. So, crazy.
Yeah. I mean, Daredevil has enough dash dodges anyway. But yeah, it's also a pretty big nerf, this one. Essence Sap after that. Reduced power coefficient from 1.5 to 0.75 in PvP only.
Again, this is a nerf. I get it, alright. I know it's annoying. But at the same time, I am all for the 2 big outlier stolen skills being brought in line. And the truth is that the Rev stolen skill was just super strong. So, they've reined it in a little bit. And that sort of makes it, from like a consistency standpoint, that all the stolen abilities should feel about on par with one another. From that standpoint and that standpoint alone, I get the change, and I'm quite happy with it. And the same reason as well, I feel about Plasma. So that's the other change.
And then, we got Consume Plasma. Boon durations have been adjusted for PvP and World vs. World to the following values. Only 1 second of stability and resistance now, 1.5 seconds of quickness, Aegis, Alacrity, and Protection 2 seconds, Regeneration, Retaliation, Vigor 5, Might, Fury, and Swiftness 10 seconds.
So the strength of Plasma is an interesting one because it's been so strong and it's been such like a pillar for so long that, it's just kind of like a known fact or a known thing that people will say like, oh, Thief is meant to counter Mesmer. Like, and Plasma really is one of the big things that would prop that comment up and that ideal up. And now there's like been quite a big nerf here as well. So, I mean...
Yeah.
People are going to have to reevaluate that, I think. If you weren't already.
How strong... You've been playing PvP a little bit after the patch. How strong have you felt Thieves to be after this?
I have not played as a Mesmer since the patch, so I don't really know.
Okay. And then finally, we have Warrior.
Warrior.
Winds of Disenchantment, that nice elite skill from Spellbreaker. This skill is no longer channeled.
Oh yeah, I loved this change. This was cool to hear.
Did you like you like the change when they changed it to channeled or changing it back off of channeled?
I like the change today where they have turned it off of channeled. I've just logged in on the wrong character. Do you want to explain the full story to people?
So yeah, Winds of Disenchantment when it first came out was very, very, very strong, and changed World vs. World entirely for a period of time, and then they because you could just cast it and it would come out and you didn't have to channel it. You could do other stuff and be in the Winds of Disenchantment doing things as your warrior, and killing everybody in it because you have your Zerg with you. But then they switched it to being a channeled skill, so then the warrior could not do anything except for run around with his friends in the Winds of Disenchantment as it was being channeled. So definitely very less powerful, but still pretty strong. And then finally they changed it back.
Yeah, so World vs. World has been a big focus of this patch. And I was told that at the same time, it's not in the patch notes, but apparently there's a ticking reveal that gets put on you with wins. And apparently that's new. I don't know for sure. It's an interesting skill because it's had so much use and it's defined so much in World vs. World for so long. Looking specifically just at the PvE environment, one thing I will credit the balance is there's a pretty good amount of rampages you see versus war banners you see. Hell, even Signet of Rages, it feels like the warrior sort of elite slot is kind of actually getting a bit diversified. There's some cool choices you can make. I like the idea of seeing winds coming back, you know. I like the idea.
Me too.
And in a 5v5 format, the idea of it only being channeled, essentially losing a whole player, is crazy, and it just killed it straight away. That patch destroyed that skill. So seeing it come back, you know, is the first little step now. Maybe there'll have to be some efficacy changes going forward.
Well, I think there is. Like, first of all, it's a 5-second spell area with a 1-second pulse. I think originally, back when it first came out, it was a 10-second area with like a quarter-second pulse.
Yeah, it was a lot faster, longer, and it would rip things out quick. Yeah.
Yeah, so this, I mean, maybe this will make a big change.
Yeah.
Okay, and then next we got break enchantments. I think that's that utility skill from
Also,
Spellbreaker.
hold on. Didn't this used to remove all boons instantly at the start?
Well, no.
And then it would pulse afterwards. Are you sure?
Maybe you're right.
All
I know is that it was such a quick removal that it didn't matter.
Yeah, I thought it had like an opening effect of all boons are removed, and then after that, everyone in there gets them ripped as well. You know. But yeah, all right, go on. Sorry.
Then we got break enchantments. That's reduce the number of boons removed from 4 to 2 in World vs. World only. Reduce cooldown from 25 to 15 seconds in World vs. World only, and increase power coefficient from 0.1 to 0.5.
So actually start hitting a little bit harder again. Don't forget that this already does 300% more damage. I mean, I'm reading the PvE tooltip here. I think it's the same in World vs. World. If you actually manage to rip something, so that coefficient change is pretty nice as well.
And the cooldown is quite a large reduction. This might be an interesting thing to use nowadays.
I like the skill. I haven't seen anyone using it for ages.
Yeah. Next, Roaring Reveille.
I love it. When I read this on the notes, right? I read these notes way before I even contacted you. And, well, not way before, but as I was...
It's probably supposed to be Roaring Reveille.
No, but I was like, oh, I'm not going to know how to pronounce that in a video. I was like, you know, I'd be able to pronounce it. Bootswood. Yeah, I should do a balance with boots. That's exactly
and then
what
make me read every patch note just so I read that last one.
No, I forgot about it until now, and I'm like, yeah, look at that. You hear that, guys? That was amazing. You would not get that if I was doing this production on mine.
Roaring Reveille. This trait no longer increases the maximum number of targets of Warhorn skills. And okay, so we're doing this thing again where World vs. World has 5 instead of 10.
Well, go on, read it out to people.
Because Warhorn skills increase the maximum number of targets from 5 to 10 in PvE only. That's baseline.
My god, my demonstration warrior for the footage here is terrible. I've not got any of the weapons I need.
Anyway, then Vigorous shouts, oh no, reduce healing coefficient from 1 to 0.64 in PvP. Oh.
Well, I am happy with this as well, because again, one of the big sort of in vogue, it's everywhere, is kind of a Shout Warhorn hybrid supporty warrior build. Very close to actually something you did a Boots Bad builds on, I think.
Yeah, that's the problem. It affects even bad builds.
Yeah, so anyway, there's a lot of it, and things are just way too sustainy. The thing in common with this Warhorn build we're talking about and the Revenant build that I was talking about earlier is they're just so sustainy, and they're just, you know... and so this nerfed them down, which I'm really happy with a lot of this, honestly. I've gone from being a bit grumpy about it all to seeing this patch and being like, it's not too bad.
Alright, and then finally, well, not finally, to the limit, reduce base heal from 7,700 to 6,500 in PvP, and reduce the endurance granted down to 50 from 100 in PvP.
I want to note that nerf with the endurance is not as bad as it looks, because the amount of times that someone has exactly 0 endurance gets all 100 is less than you'd think. And if you were thinking about using it for some Mirage, cool dodge roll, Infinite Horizon stuff, well, they only have 1 dodge nowadays anyway.
And then Might Makes Right, increased base heal from 64 to 85 in PvP on World vs. World. Whoop whoop!
Yeah, so a little bit more fun with the tether breakers and stuff like that. And bringing
I
them
like
forward
Might Makes Right. Anything they could do to make Might Makes Right back to where it was before, I'm happy about.
Yeah, what we kind of see here is they're shaving down the Warhorn shouty builds, and then they're bringing up the pushed aside tether breaker.
Core.
Yeah, they're just closing the gap between them a little bit, so that, you know, the choice of which one you go for isn't so black and white, which is good.
And then finally, in general structured player versus player, they removed the Celestial Amulet.
Yeah, I don't really know why. I don't know who was playing Celestial or what was
Maybe
going on.
that's the reason why, because nobody was playing it.
Oh, that's a good point. That's a good thought. Maybe, yeah.
Maybe,
I'm kind of
yeah,
I'm a big booster of this idea of very, very minimal amulets at the moment. I really like the idea of having a very limited selection of amulets and then maybe rotating them on a regular basis.
Then again, Celestial Amulet, it might just be because I feel like Celestial Amulet just gives you more stats all when combined fully with any other amulet. Is that possible?
I don't think so. I think I've tried to use Celestial builds a lot before, but I just feel like the pressure drops off and it's just a bit like... I don't know for sure, though, because I am still ultimately pretty out of touch with some of this stuff right now. And I don't know what, like, the lightning rods weavers are running and stuff like that. I don't know. I don't know who was selling, but it's gone, and it probably won't be missed.
Yeah. Okay, well, I think that is all, my friend.
Yeah, those are the balance changes. So it's been good to have you, Boots. And
my pleasure as well.
Hopefully you guys have enjoyed us running you through this patch, as we always have, and will continue to do. Feel free to let us know what you think and round out some of our more malformed opinions down below. I'll be there in the comments, and we'll see you for the next one, hopefully as soon as possible. Hopefully we're not on some...
maybe on my birthday.
Wait, when's your birthday?
In like a little over a week.
Oh, you almost gave me a heart attack. I thought you were going to say it's today.
It is today.
Didn't we have a thing last year where that basically happened?
Possibly.
Didn't we shoot something on your birthday and you were like, it's my birthday, by the way?
I feel like we did that for your birthday too. I think I like missed your birthday by 2 days one time.
We've definitely had something like that. Anyway, yeah, happy birthday. Everyone give Boots a happy birthday for next week.
In a week and a bit.
Yeah, and hopefully we do get more balance. The patches of this size are really good. I'd like to see a patch of this size regularly, you know? I think this is good. It's not too much, it's not too little. And yeah, hopefully...
It's about as much as we could possibly expect, considering everybody in balance is working on the new lead spec.
Exactly, and it's more than I expected. I did not expect this at all. So hopefully they keep it up. All right, well, there you go, guys. Thanks very much. Hope you enjoyed. We'll see you in the next one.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, cool.